Hi everyone. Congratulations on making it this far. My name is Hans. Feel free to just refer the panel as collective member of the House judges as per usual, and I hope this will be a fun final. Best of luck for both teams.
Next, Saka.
Hello everyone, my name is Raka. I'm from USU. Good luck everyone. It's very cool you made it this far.
Roga.
Hi everyone, my name is Roga. Congratulations for making it this far. Hopefully, fun debate awaits. Thank you.
Okay, Mirwanto.
Hi everyone, this is Merwanto from UNDIP. Congratulations for making it to the grand final. Good luck with your round.
Phil.
Hi everyone, this is Phil from Samporna. Congratulations everyone, and I hope you have a lot of fun during the debate in the grand finals.
Okay, last but not least, yes, Kiel.
Hello everyone, EL here from UNPAT. Congratulations for making it this far. Expecting a good debate from everyone. Good luck.
Okay, so refer to the panel as a whole, since each of us have the decision making to determine who then will be the novice finals of IVED 2025. By now, you should know speaking time is 8 minutes. Reply for 4 minutes. I won't be actively timing in the chat, but if you go beyond 8:20, you can see me raise my hand like this. And because this round is recorded, I invite all of the speakers, when possible and there's no logistic issues, to turn on their camera during the speech, and that we can also use this video later on. You can reminisce this video looking back of how then you were able to speak at the novice finals of IVED 2025. Without further ado, under the first motion that reads that ministers should be elected by professionals working in the fields directly related to the portfolio, with the examples given, we call upon the first affirmative to start the novice finals. Here.
Check. Am I audible?
Yep, you're audible.
Oh, cool. Sadly, I cannot turn on my camera because I have connection issues and I have severely been logged out before. So yeah. But okay, let me set up my timer. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. As a human being, you are a holistic being. You're seeing a lot of things in your life, right? But notice that it is best for you to settle down to a specialist field that but even so in a position where you could impact so many other people's lives and impact a whole nation decision at the end of the day, proud to propose. To set up before moving to my argument, I'm going to talk about two things in my speech. First, talking about political development, but second, I'm going to talk about professional check and balances and why these two things are debate winning. But to set up before moving to my speech argument, right? First, notice what are the ministers? There are people that work with the president, with the sitting president, and from his cabinet. They're usually concerning specialist thing as usual, such as like the minister of health concerning his health industry, the minister of interior concerning the interior, the minister of defense concerning the defense and whatnot, right? But second, notice that they also have the advisory role to advise the president on his current political situation, on his policies and whatnot, right? But see, notice that they also have the job to overseeing their ministerial project and drafting policies with the president. This looks like such as the minister of education have the power to erect and discuss draft the policies with the new curriculum with the president and whatnot, right? But they also in the status quo they are being elected by the president. It is the purgatory right of the president to elect who he wish to become the minister at the end of the day, and then just seek the approval of the parliament to approve his cabinet, right? But second, then what are our stances? We want the ministerial position to be elected by the professional organization or professional association. This looks like the Ministry of Health being elected by the combination of ED, combination of IPNI, and other related working medical worker, right? But notice that the requirement to become a minister doesn't necessarily you have to have an educational background. Sure, it is nice to have the linear educational background, but if you have like a certain amount of time, long amount of time in the industry, like not like working in the industry like for 10 years or 5 or whatnot, you are also eligible to apply, right? The election will take place in this organization, and therefore it will be held like simultaneously or parallelly at the end of the day, right? And B, we will have the association to we we will have the association to like hold this like this position and to discuss it by themselves, and then at the end of the day give it to the president that this is your minister of education, this is your minister of health concern, this is your minister of religious things and whatnot, right? But okay, moving into my first argument, talking about political development. Hey, notice how ministry getting choose in the status quo. It is the president that have the sole prerogative power to do it. But B, notice what incentivizes the president to choose a minister. It's usually three things. First, it's usually political interest or political depth. It looks like when you're choosing your coalition, from the party that support you in the last election as your minister at the end of the day, right? But B, it also because of relation, because you are close with this certain person, because you are close with this certain people. But third, then but C, it's also you also as a president like a people that have like the economical capital that could satisfy you at the end of the day, right? But see then, what are the impact if you keep doing this? Notice that this is bad because the ministerial position have huge amount of influences, and the president being the only one that choose what is who is the people that they want is possess a huge amount of praise, choosing what not the best for the people but and the country, but choosing what's the best for his political career at the end of the day, right? This is poses a two important impact. It is very likely for the sitting president, to putting under a random unseasoned nugu or even a random political oligarch to be sitting in the position just because he have a debt to them, or like he want to trap them in to be indebted to him at the end of the day, right? But even if the minister chosen by the president is that good and is that capable, notice that this is very unlikely. This is a very 1 in a million situation at the end of the day, right? Now, notice that this is true because like you can literally just need to open your eyes. Notice that the technocrat is that scarce, and the best performing one usually come from the technocrat at the end of the day, right? But even if they perform that good, they usually have political debts to the president from to raising them to the ministerial position at the end of the day, right? This looks like the Sri Mulyani that at the end of the day in this era is indebted to Prabowo for electing her again as a ministry at the end of the day, and like indebted to him, and like risking of doing a huge amount of policies that the people don't want, right? This is very bad because comparatively to ours, at least in our very worst case, the ministry are being indebted to their professional organization, to their fellow professional, and this is very good because their policies will most likely affect these people, and this is more democratic than a single person choosing what's best for the interest of the entire nation. Why this is important? Because this will affect a huge amount of things. This, as a Ministry of Education, you will affect the teachers, you will affect the student and whatnot, right? Or it is only logical for you to choose the people, the one that have a huge amount of expertness in huge amount of expertness, choosing by the people who is also in the field at the end of the day, right? But comparatively, under our side, trust is also will be beneficial because people will trust the ministry policies more because they literally choose the ministry themselves. This looks like when there's a change in curriculum, the teachers will be more open to the change and will want to adapt to the change because they elect the ministry in the first place, and this will result in a good and more efficient policies at the end of the day, right? But second, talking about professional checks and balance, notice what would happen if the professional elect minister, they will be incentivized to unionize and will be more critical about the policies. Notice why this is likely, because they literally the one that put her in the first place, right? This is will also shift the blame instead of like of you as a professional organization keep attacking the president. Now you can also keep also put a scrutiny upon the minister upon the minister themselves, right? This is will do the job because at the end of the day, it is the minister that like concerning your special related field at the end of the day, right? But B, it also will empower the professional organization. They will also incentivize to join the organization, and at the end of the day, the professional organization will also have more capital and more power to like to at the end of the day cater their interest, which is like being concerned by the related ministry at the end of the day, right? But this is also possess a significant benefit because like if you even if that the organization is that bad, even the organization is that corrupt, that this is will put more scrutinize to the professional organization. At the end of the day, the professional organization will have to reform it because of that. Yeah, because if not, like they will be put under fire constantly at the end of the day, and because of the fraud to propose. Thank you.
We thank the first affirmative for that fine speech. To start the negative side of the House, we call upon the first negative. Here.
I'm sorry, I'm also not able to open my camera because my laptop is dying as it is. So let me just prepare my timer. And I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Imagine a world where my professor elects a minister who advocates for better teaching materials and like better pay for professors, but completely sidelining the fact that those bonuses are at the price of no money allocation for my scholarship, for example. Because in the end, it is what's in their field that is their biggest interest. This is why we need to oppose. Now, before I start onto my arguments and rebuttals, I would like to give a short setups. Firstly, let's see. In the status quo, we have the system where ministers are elected by the elected president or any elected officials, right? The president that was before elected by the people. And this status quo is needed because ministers will work on politics, which means they will also need to be an expert or at least experienced not only in their fields, but also in their capability to govern or like lead and also have political experience. They will need to like lobby politicians to support and like make choices that will affect the whole country and not just that one sector, and of course be able to govern. These reputations and political experience can be checked through like their portfolio, or maybe there are also committees from the government that can check the candidate's background. And even if, for example, these ministers are not what is expected or not good enough for the people, then the people will be able to like report to the president to change the minister, which the president will want to do because it's of his interest in like gaining votes and getting re-elected, which means that he needs to be in the good side of the public, right? So rather than having to wait for the next election roll, like how it would be on government's world, it will be faster and more effective under our side. Now let's see what government's world will look like and how this proposal actually harms the already steady status quo. So these ministers who are elected by the people who are quote unquote experts in their field, for example, like doctors and teachers, right? It is most likely that they will act or like make decisions on what they will need or want rather than what the country needs or what the greater like many public people need. They will have like certain goals, for example, and they will want to make a decision based on that. For example, like doctors who are promised by a candidate for better pay for doctors when it may be bad for money allocation. Next, I would like to characterize first on the actors. So minister needs to lobby others, they need to debate, and they also need to pursue goals like how Nadiem Makarim is being interrogated in DPR, right? This is not just about knowing what's in the field, but it's also about having skills of politics and technicality. This is why president vote for them, because they need to give back and have big accountability towards all layers of society. Affirmative is limiting the ability of the government to appoint these ministers who represent the broader interest and needs of the people in the country. Understand that there is cabinet in the status quo. When a president is voting for a betterment of minister, this aligns with their preemptive. If they are going to bring an argument about how people in the minister are not good in fulfilling the needs or like a good governor, then the president can just kick them out and renew the institution. And lastly, I would like to give a preemptive. When government talks a big case about like accountability and expertise, notice that the accountability and expertise will only be for those professionals and not for the broader public or citizens. And the governance is not just about expertise. Now, next is going to be a short rebuttal on how their biggest case is how elected by professional organization or association is better than presidents choosing a minister alone, because then it'll be like prone to nepotism. Firstly, presidents still have the responsibility of the public, right? And this is something they cannot escape from because it is their interest to gain votes from the get-go, like I've said in my framing. But okay, let's say worst case scenario, there is nepotism. This will still happen under their side anyway, because when a certain group of like professionals who choose the minister, then in the long run, there will be only them again and them again, not to mention the one that is chosen will be the one who like pleases the organization's goal the most. Note, the organization's goal, not the public goal. And yes, let's say you successfully elect this perfect minister by terms of the association. But what about the other sectors that will inevitably be affected as well? Like, for example, you're in the Ministry of Medicine. Doesn't mean that you can escape from the economic public sectors, right? So the reason why it is crucial for a president to choose ministers, because a lot of ministries are interconnected, like health and education, both affect each other. Therefore, because the president has the responsibility to run the entire nation, they will pick ministers that can create cohesion between the ministries. For example, the ministries responsible for transportation, finance, and economic affairs are deeply interconnected. For example, in Indonesia, when Joko Widodo's administration pushes for infrastructure projects like building a toll road or expanding airports, the Ministry of Transportation is in charge of overseeing the building of roads, airports, and stuff like this. However, the Ministry of Finance is integral because they need to allocate the necessary budget, providing funds, and managing national debt. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Economic Affairs is responsible for broader economic implications of these projects. This is why it is crucial for the ministers to understand each other, and this doesn't happen under affirmative. Next, into my first argument on the justification. Ministers need to represent everyone, no matter what, if their field is just in health or education or whatever. By limiting the ability of people to vote and instead giving it to the professionals, then there will be no diverse democracy. Like if teachers vote for a better salary, what about the people who use different learning methods like homeschool or allocating funds to create more schools in rural areas? This is harmful, especially since now every field becomes their own little group under affirmative side, like lobbying and nepotism, etc., will actually be more prone under their side because it is only these certain small groups controlling the ministry. There will not be any balance in representations for all, so they cannot bring up the whole nepotism thing under our side. Next, we want to make sure that there is stability and inclusivity, being the bridge between expert advice to the public. Note that in developing country, we cannot stay exclusive and inflexible towards solutions or any new regulations because we are still in a situation that needs a lot of unity within the governance system. And lastly, the appointment professionals putting people in charge of ministries who are not equipped to negotiate or make a strategic trade-offs between competing political, social, and economic interests. They cannot be strategic. Then developing for the country will be much lesser both in time and efficiency. Last, on my second argument on how ministers, when they are more broad, will create a better functioning society and country in the end of the day. One, if a minister has a variety of priorities and knowledge because they're not just a professional in one field, then it will create a better decision-making process. For example, a minister of education that thinks outside of just teaching, pay, and curriculum can also advocate on technology for the classroom, or like for scholarships, like I said in the beginning, or like allocating funds to make more schools, or just having the ability to govern means that they have better communicating skills to the public. Two, there will be no bias because it's not like no group or specific expertise that will be focused solely on that sector. And like worst case scenario and why we still win. One, if for example they say it will be like an unqualified minister, there is such thing as public accountability, and there is pressure for those ministers because they want to be re-elected too, and they are also oversighted by the people in the cabinet. And two, worst case scenario, there is check and balance because it's not like ministers can just be a dictator and just do whatever they want, but there is the cabinet and president making sure that he is competent, and this is exclusive under our side because therefore there can be people from different sectors too who are allowed to criticize and overlook these ministers, which is why panels until the end vote for a diverse democracy, just as how Indonesia should be vote for negative. Thank you very much.
We thank the first negative for that fine speech. To continue the debate, we call upon the second affirmative. Here.
Hello, am I audible and visible?
Yep, you're audible and visible.
Okay, give me 1 second to set my timer real quick. Okay, I will begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Currently, the new presidential cabinet is filled with people who only fulfill the interests of the president, and only the president knows why these people were chosen in the first place. Okay, panel, see how it's reported that all these new ministers are there's a report of there are numerous reports of these ministers not doing their job, or they're just barely working there and they're just there. This happens because the interest and responsibility is solely towards the president, because it's the president who entrusted them, or even there's only political interest at stake. That's why we need people who are entrusted by the people of their field, in which builds a stronger moral obligation. For example, Budi Ari, who was chosen as Minister of Communication and Information, or Menkominfo. He was a boomer. He doesn't understand technology fully, but he was someone chosen by the president anyways. What this led to? This led to data leaks and lack of accountability from his side when that happened back in 2024. And this is something that we want to prevent. So realize this, panels. When we go into the workload, only the best of the best are hired. Why would we settle for someone who has no idea the track record of to create the policies that will surround our job? Okay, some things I want to point out from the negative. First of all, everything they said are assertions that without actually elaborating the effects as a whole. Like, they say stuff that the ministers will be broad choices because like they're from different races, not just from the group of professionals, but they don't elaborate how this will happen. Then when we've seen that in the status quo, the people that are chosen are hardly actually do their job, and they are mostly president bootlickers, and they don't actually understand what they're doing in their field. Okay, and then first of all, they were completely sidelining the fact of scholarship. Ministers have a holistic view. They will have advisors, and they will like wait. The minister is just not one person. There are a bunch of other people who will advise them to it. And if you're talking about political experience, the person that would be elected would not just be like some random teacher from a city, right? It would be definitely strongmen or women under the organization, and they need to campaign and make people elect them, which will make them more seasoned and more experienced. And as we explained, it's not just people who are experienced in the field, but it's also people who have the portfolio that suits as the minister, that as is stated in the motion. And then the minister needs like this, and then negative says stuff like minister needs to lobby others and debate. And let's realize this, that could be trained. Again, it's very likely that could be one of the choose a strong person in the organization that also have political expertise themselves. And when they mention about like there's going to be nepotism within the organization, it's better than the presidential goal. They literally just are the ministers are literally the backbone of their respective fields, anyways. And if the job is good, then we believe it's going to be good. It's going to be good anyways. Okay, and then second of all, they said like the professionals will choose these ministers based on what they need rather than what the country needs. And we believe that this is okay because these policies will directly impact because the policies will direct these professionals in the first place. We think that they've been in a lot of problems so the least they need is someone who purely understands it. For example, when Nadiem Makarim was the Minister of Education, he created this whole curriculum merdeka that made all teachers struggle in trying to keep up and trying to teach their students, and that caused a lot of problems. Then we don't want that to happen again. So, and when negative said ministries are interconnected, don't you think professionals don't interact with each other? There's no elaboration on this, how this wouldn't happen on our side of the debate. And finally, they mentioned about like there's going to be public accountability on their side, but let me show you how it's going to be better on our side. Okay, first of all, let's move into the worst case scenario of our side debate. Let's say that the person who's chosen is the wrong choice. Okay, we believe that this is less likely to happen because these people have a reputation and a portfolio that makes them chosen as the best of the best. So it's less likely for these people to be choosing the wrong person anyways. I will explain this further into my extension. Moving on to my extension. Okay, I want to point out how there will be check and balance from three perspectives. First of all, the minister with the people who chose them, aka the professionals. In the same way that a president or representative is selected by the people, it's because the people trust them and they believe that they can lead them. When a group of people entrust someone to be their minister, these ministers have that stronger moral obligation to fulfill the interests of these people, to fulfill the welfare of these people. This leads to a better work ethic and the responsibility to bring welfare to the people who chose them. And because they've actually had the experience in the field, and they actually relate to the experience in the field, then they know that, oh, this is oh, I know this is actually going to be good for them. Oh, and I know this is actually going to be bad for them, and so on and so forth. Okay, and then if you're worried about like this political interest or like political interest among the professionals who choose them, we believe this is less likely to happen because these professionals will be seen by the people. Like we know all like Ikatan Dokter Indonesia is they're the one who chose the Minister of Health, and like they already knows the professionals choose them, and like if like we made a wrong choice, the people will be criticizing the people who chose them in the first place. So there will still be a check and balance from the people because, oh yeah, you should like they chose the wrong minister, that like that this is not right, etc., etc. And then finally, when it comes to the check and balance towards the president, let's see, ministers are chosen by the president, and when they are chosen by the president, they are indebted to the president. What does this lead to? This leads to ministers being yes men who solely follow president's wants, compared to someone entrusted by professionals who actually knows what is needed by the people and not just solely from the president's perspective. For example, like Sri Mulyani, the Minister of Finance, she was praised as someone who does the job right, and she's actually a powerful woman, but suddenly she agreed to raise the taxes that gave burden to the people. And because in the end, she will still follow the interest of the president because, yeah, she is chosen by the president. Okay, we will bite the bullet that there's going to be a lot of check and balances from the ministers, and it's going to cost like longer time to create policies, etc. But at least on our side, the policies will be fully thought out and fulfill the interests of the people who will be immediately impacted by the policies that they create. Okay, moving on. Why are we sure that these professionals will choose the right person? First of all, the amount of information. We will be more aware of the chosen's track records compared to like when the president chooses someone. We don't know that we don't always know what their track record is, why the president chose them in the first place. Was there any motivation behind it? That isn't purely political? And so comparatively, if we choose a professional, if a professional chooses the ministers, like it's easier to assume, oh, these people know these are the right people who can fulfill their interests. Oh, these are the people that they know, oh, person is the right person to lead us in this field. Like, and if you're worried about, oh, this is going to be the wrong person, etc., as I already explained, there will be check and balance from the people anyways. Okay, just second of all, trust, because it will be easier for the people who are affected by who chose this minister to follow the policy changes, because when a professional chooses their minister, they choose someone who knows what they actually need. For example, like explained earlier, like with the existence of Curriculum Merdeka, which was hard to adapt because it was made without the consideration of the teachers who have to teach them. It's not considered, they did not consider how the teachers will have to deal with it. Compared to us, the chosen ministers actually been in those fields. They know the struggles of the people who chose them. They know what's actually going to work for them in the end. And finally, the issues about struggle, like we don't like professionals, we don't understand all the struggles that they go to, and it would be better for them to choose someone who would understand or like has been in their shoes in order to make those policies surrounding them. Like policies the minister makes will always affect the people involved. Like the Ministry of Health will create policies that affect doctors. Ministry of Education will create policies that affect teachers. And wouldn't it be better if we had someone who knew or understood what is going on in the field, because they've been in their shoes, they've been in that position anyways. So compared to like someone chosen by the president, we don't know if like if they actually been a teacher. We don't know if they've actually been in the shoes of the teachers who are struggling. So this is why we believe that in the end, it's going to create better welfare for the professionals and the people who are in the fields of those jobs if they let the professionals choose their ministers. Proud to propose.
We thank the second affirmative for that speech. To continue the debate, we call upon the second negative. You're here.
Hi, am I audible, Chair?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay, hold on, let me set up the timer. Thank you. Okay. I will start my speech in 3, 2, and 1. Panelists, can we just take a moment to understand Indonesian politics, please? We want a good cabinet and synergy for Indonesia's benefit itself by avoiding corruption and giving means to actually create a better public advocacy and democracy. Secondly, we cannot prioritize everything. We have to see what we have to prioritize in Indonesia. For example, Pak Prabowo putting much more, let's say, money inside of education rather than anggaran dinas, right? We have to see that, okay? Secondly, rather than creating conflict where there are foxes inside the cabinet that only try to entertain their demographic, we have to see what actually benefits the whole of Indonesia. And let me tell you why it's better in negative rather than in proposition. I'm going to re-emphasize the burdens, right? What we want is a good cabinet that is aligned towards the needs of the country itself. One, we want a good cabinet, and second, we want actual results for the people. Third, we want a good democracy, right? And the opponent has a hard burden, panels, because they need to answer the burden of how the democracy inside of working fields will be something that is an actual democracy rather than speculation, because there is so much loopholes through using democracy in Indonesia, for example, bansos, lobbying, and etc. Right? Because we can see that in every election, I'm just going to say this, in every election, what happens is that there is a lot of lobbying, a lot of corruption, and a lot of nepotism that happens. And how do we actually decrease that? I will answer inside of my arguments later. And secondly, the opponent's hard burden is how will the mechanization happen for government house to actually create a better system in the status quo, which of course I will answer to why that actually doesn't work. Secondly, I will move on to my hooks. Okay, what government says is ministers are already from the industries that professionals are from and whatnot, right? Okay. But I want to say, can I also say that the ministers chosen by the president are mostly professionals that work in their field and experience as well? And most of them are like this. Let's say Stella Christie for Menteri Pendidikan Tinggi, and she works as a professional in their field as well, right? Secondly, what government says is that they are more democratic than a single person itself, which is of course the president. But I'm going to say this: democracy is also really bad because of the lobbying inside of pretty much most of Indonesian elections. What we want is to soften that blow and actually get rid of that and actually protect these corruptions to not happen more, right? So what we want is of course the president to actually just take hold of it rather than lobbying to happen and actually just burning of funds and burning of let's say election funds and actually taking use of these demographics that only want the benefits from these ministers, right? Okay. And of course, that they say, oh, there is professional scrutiny for Indonesians. This is a very, very unexclusive because, of course, there will be professional scrutiny. And secondly, there will be demographic scrutiny from the Indonesians inside of the president's cabinets as well, right? We can see this from Gus Miftah and etc. that got kicked off because of public advocacy, right? Okay. And of course, when they said that the campaign is when they have to go through campaigns and whatnot, and that actually makes them more experienced. I'm going to say this as well: that campaign, right, will also allow the experienced courtesans inside of the Indonesian political ring to overweigh those that actually have expertise itself. So that argument is completely gone in regards to getting experience in campaigns and whatnot, right? Okay. Now I'll move on towards my arguments, right? First of all, democracy will be breached through government house. How does this happen? Let me tell you why. Democracy is actually more breached inside of a government house. What we want inside of the mechanization inside of a government, of course, in the best case scenario, is definitely the ability to actually voice out the true voices of the people or professionals to choose which minister they want. But this becomes What we want inside of the mechanization in government is definitely the ability to actually voice out the true voices of the people or professionals to choose which ministers they want. But this becomes detrimental towards democracy itself. Ministers want to get elected to get more power, right? Through democracy in Indonesia. But Indonesia has much loopholes for false democracy, and this cannot be solved inside of the status quo. And this cannot be solved through, of course, what government has said. For example, bantuan sosial, janji palsu, and etc. And there is no check and balance inside of the current state of Indonesia where these things will not happen. What we want is to decrease these lobbying tactics itself. And even if government says it's unexclusive because it happens in the status quo, they need to answer towards the addition of these democratic loopholes because they also have a lot of practical impacts that I will explain. In the comparative, what we can see that in our house, what we're giving is the safe option of these lobbying tactics to not happen more, and that the president's actually more in control to get rid of weeds or bad ministers elected into the cabinet easily through public advocacy. And this works a lot more because there's a check and balance for the president's reputation itself to not get impeached, right? We can see this from Prabowo firing Gus Miftah because of penghinaan penjual es teh, right? Public advocacy really pushes these ministers to actually do and become productive inside of the cabinet that is chosen by Pak Prabowo. And of course, Pak Prabowo has put so much choices and actually consideration to get these ministers that actually work in their field. For example, Bu Stella Christie. Okay, secondly, practical impacts. There is less synergy with the executive head of the state with the ministers. This will create more conflict. What happens in the government house? When ministers are elected through lobbying and etc. to just appealing towards their target demographic, the vision and mission only appeals to their target demographic, not Indonesia as a whole. For example, the medical industry, doctors and etc. They will be rewarded, but there are patients, and all of the humans inside of Indonesia will interact with the medical industry itself. When there is different visions and missions from the cabinet and of course the ministers that actually try to entertain these professionals and these workers and their target demographic, this does not do well because secondly, professionals can just appeal for ministers that benefit them only and not the whole. This puts Indonesia at a disadvantage because these ministers will just be throwing actions that look good for the target demographic but damages the whole. And conflict with different ministers and industries will happen because of clashing political beliefs for the betterment of their professionals and demographic. This will definitely happen because of the want to entertain their own demographics more rather than taking into account different industries. Comparatively, in our house, our synergy will be strengthened with the same vision, with the executive head and understanding priorities, especially when the productivity is a main proxy as a check and balance to throw ministers out of the cabinet itself. And what would happen? There will be burning funds for re-elections inside of government house. When a bad apple is picked, which we are all sure will, what will happen? Funds will be burnt for more campaigns, billions of rupiah. When we try to re-elect ministers in a 5-year cycle or when they are impeached, there is still needed for election to happen again, and this will just burn more funds. This is a waste of funds because these funds can be used and be put into better allocations in industries. And burning funds, there will be burning funds for short-term happiness of the target demographic. We need to see the characteristics of the ministers in democracy. To get what they want, which is to get elected, they need to make their target demographic like them and to sustain them. The best short-term way to make these people happy and sustain them is through short-term gratifications, and Indonesians will love it. Wow, we're getting so much privileges and etc. for now, and then it will burn out through burn out of funding. And when that does happen, these people will just throw them away and complain about the government again. Not these professionals itself just want the short-term gratification they want, not about the country itself, because Indonesians are just like that. We can see the characteristics of Indonesians, right? And most of them are actually politically illiterate itself, so of course the benefit will just be the main incentive. Third, professionals do not parallel cabinet needs, skills, and political literacy because shadow incentives will happen. For example, doctors vote for a minister or cabinet that profits them the most instead of skills in governing and fund policies. This will just create more political illiteracy among the professionals because there is a force where they, instead of actually paying attention to the bigger picture, will just focus on the benefits that they reap from the minister that they choose. Now, comparative, let me tell you why ministers should be elected through the current status quo. Check and balance by professionals being able to be kicked out by Prabowo, for example, much more easily rather than just doing re-elections and whatnot and burning more funds as well. Secondly, just like Jokowi reshuffling to increase synergy and productivity, of course, this Jokowi can actually increase the synergy because they know the same vision and mission, and secondly, Jokowi can actually create a better system of synergy to actually increase synergy more effectively. Also, productivity is also a check and balance because it is the main basis in the status quo for evaluating these ministers itself from Jokowi and Prabowo. Currently, in Prabowo's rule, we can see these characteristics on trying to get rid of corruption and sensitivity to the public advocacy, for example, Gus Miftah. So in this cabinet, he's actually more sensitive inside of the status quo to see the productivity of the ministers inside of the cabinet itself. Secondly, industries will not clash and create conflict because it is a completely picked and chosen by the executive head itself, right? That is why we can see in the clashes and importance, first of all, in the mechanization and safeguard. In government, there's no mechanization to actually get rid of the lobbying itself, which basically happens in every election. And secondly, there will still be bootlickers for in their house because guess what? They want funding and whatnot from the president itself, right? In opposition, we lessen this, we increase public advocacy, we protect the funding, we decrease clashes inside of synergy, and we actually strengthen the synergy itself. And we, of course, uphold democracy. That is why very proud to oppose. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We thank the second negative for that speech. To continue, we call upon the third affirmative. Here.
Hello, am I audible?
Yep, you're audible.
Wait. Okay, kedengaran. I think I'm perfectly heard. So wait a minute, I want to set up my timer because I am quite have bad connection. I will not have a camera. Sorry. Wait. Okay, I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Before I enter my clashes, I will enter my rebuttal first. Two things I want to get in this debate. First, when they are saying the elected minister from the professional just giving big salaries to professional and neglecting other problem. It is not. I believe this very extreme cases bring from the negative set of the house. Why? Third analysis. First, it is no because professional is have an adult and they are have an rationality itself. They also want the progressivity of their field more than anyone itself because they literally work in that field. It is literally their passion. Like as a teacher, they doesn't even want to be rich because if you want to be rich, you want to become a businessman. They are taking a business major now, like being a teacher. What they want is just maybe just being enough for them to live by. So they become rich, it literally for contribute for the education. So they are the one who want the progressivity of their field. It is literally how in our side portrayal of our side. Secondly, is it is a proof for them because they have a moral obligation that have been idealized from their studying in the higher education. They have a code of ethics, either like for doctor or teacher. They have their own moral obligation and have their a sense of spirit of becoming the one who contributes. So in the end, they are not becoming egoistical, not like a political, because in the end, you never heard about the teacher who are corrupting. The one who are corrupting is actually very like from DPR or something like that. So literally, the one who are professional is very passionate about their own fields. Thirdly, even if they have no rationality, we believe we have a check and balance like from the president or even like other ministries. Like you cannot apply your policies if you are not accepting by the president or other minister, right? Or even the society or professionalism itself. They would not make irrational policies such as raising salaries as a teacher to become superly rich when the finance say they can. They also have the interest to be better, to have a better name for themselves so they can maybe get elected again, right? Second rebuttal is how negative say that their case goes like is their minister is more general, take care of many things, strong political idol and whatnot. I believe it is not really significant in this debate. For analysis, first, how they said our side minister I have no political experiences is very not logical because the person that would be elected is not just a random teacher from like kabupaten. It will be someone who are deserving, because why bother choose someone who are not the best or the one deserving when you have someone who are good capable of doing that, hold their position. Secondly, knowing that they are very adult and have like rationality. Second reason is how professional, like the teacher, doctor, etc., is an adult. They have rationalism. They know it is important position. They can directly affect them. So not gonna like choose someone who that can even talk in the public. They're gonna choose someone who's special on their field, but also capable on their to do their job as a minister. Thirdly, when they are said, oh, there is going to be bias for their sector, it is very needed as minister. It is the reason why there's a diversification of minister in our status quo, because they need to focus on their field. They want to maintain their focus on their field itself, because it is the sole reason why they have diversification of the minister. It is why bias is matter in this debate. It's okay. Fourthly, it's about interconnected of the ministry. It is very symmetry with both of the side. It is not like in our side we have a sectoral or something else. It is because in status quo it is exists the coordinating minister who do the coordination, who do all the things, who make the government can walk good and walk good. So it is, but interconnected. They are also a professionalism. So not like they are not gonna do all the rebellion, and in the end they doesn't have a product of the policies. They want something to have their own legacy, right? Okay, let's enter my clashes. I have two clashes in this debate. First is, do professional elected the minister is urgencies in our status quo. First, we have to know what the urgencies is. Why president is not enough to electing their minister itself? Three reasons. First, political interest. Why it is happen? It is because every president that is elected is always from a political party, like probable from Kim or Trump from Republican. They have obligation to accommodate their own party or coalition. It is happening because they wanted to be elected again, or simply as they doesn't want to be branded as traitor from their party and have many opposition as they govern. So they want to choose what their party ordered to. Like they choose this and this because they are the one who lobbying and nepotism and etc. Second is limited of information. It is happening because they can ignore small details. It is happening because you are not experiencing in that field. It is impossible to president to accommodate outfit and expert in that field. So in the end, they are ignoring small details that are actually very essential. For example, your experience is not enough, and etc. Why? How a president would know that? Because they are president is such a generalized person. And thirdly is how they said, oh, this is gonna become bad for our democracy. President doesn't have the higher more gun why his single choice outweigh the professional that literally works in that field. So this is why it is not enough for president. Compare with our set how this problem will be accommodated. We believe they are gonna be choose the best one who gonna hold this position. They know the struggle of self, they care about the patient, and they care about themselves. Teacher wanted to be have a better environment, better welfare, etc. It is their pride as a teacher. Secondly, they know the ins and outs of the field. They know things that is essential. What do you need us to hold this and have rationalization, etc. So they know what the detail it is needed to elected some people, a person who are hold important position. So what is exclusive and happening in our set is how our minister is more expert. Why is this important? Maybe yes, negative set minister could have a progressivity, but not as good as we are. Like a 2080 theorist who are you who when you are more targeting the urgencies of the main problem, the greater the impact is. This only happened in our set because the only one who choose the professional, the only one who choose is the professional who know the problem and trust to resolve the problem. Negative minister could just neglect how minister of education are ignoring honorary teacher who've been advocating for many times. Okay, but the BOP is why not rebelling itself. Firstly, they are rational. They want to accommodating their policies so they can make their policies if there's no budget, so they are accommodating it. Secondly, it is needed to be if they are needed to be rebel, it is very good because it's not just yes sir all the way like the culture, like how new order in Indonesia have many human rights violation because there's just yes sir. They are scared to get shuffled and become opposition itself. Or instead of this, they are likely to be brave because they are elected to be by a professional, means they are responsible to them. They wanted to be get the best for their field. Thirdly, is how government work is to find the middle ground. Policies is talking about effectivity and not efficiency because it is societal issue. It is receivable. So it is first class is our side. Secondly, is this giving up benefits? Yes, because it is trust from professional. It is easier to have progressive policies to change because they are more easier to be persuasive and get to do the change in the policies. Thank you.
We take the third affirmative for that speech. To continue the debate, we call upon the third negative. Here.
Check, is my voice clear and audible?
Yep, you're audible.
Okay, setting up my timer. Starting in 3, 2, and 1. In affirmative, the process of voting are unideal and unstructurized. The moment when a minister is not in line with the president, it will lessen the essence of their role. Understand that in the status quo that we are living right now, it is the minister's duty to work together with the president. By voting with the professionals within the fields, it will for sure have a lot of turbulences coming in the future. Ministers should represent the public at large, not just the interests of particular professional groups proud to oppose. 2 questions in order to champion this debate. First, principally, should we or should we not challenge the status quo? And second, what are the practical impact and how do we weigh them? 2 questions in my speech. First, rebuttals, and second, clashes that this debate has boiled down to. On the rebuttals then, there will be 4 points here. First of all, weighing, they talk about how president chooses to protect the political career. That is why there's a lot of calamities that's going on. There's a lot of complexity that's going on in the presidential governance. But let's say we're going to weigh on the worst case scenario. Let's say that all you said is true, how bad the president is, and how the minister is not in line within the interest of society. First of all, in affirmative, if the people choose the wrong person, there's nothing you can do but wait and suffer until the next election cycle. But at least in negative, if the minister is bad, then the president will swap because people will protest, right? We think it is better to have a ministerial cabinet that gets reshuffled often rather than suffering to wait for another 4 years. Because even if a cabinet gets reshuffled often, that actually proves the president cares about what the people wants and listen to the people in the country when they think that the minister is bad in affirmative. You have to suffer with that minister. There's no choice at all but to live within the policy. Second thing then, their second speaker said a minister can make strategic decisions by having someone who tell them stuff and do trainings, right? The turnover cost then would be higher on the other side of the house. And understand that as a developing countries, we don't have that much budgeting to be allocated internally in the governance to educate these people, to train these people, right? And third of all, the DPM also hasn't tackled any of our case about correlation and the principal role of the minister, so it is too late for them to bring in their any of their cases. So it'll still stand until the end of debate. And lastly, defending your case and defending your actor analysis by saying that teachers are passionate oriented. They won't do anything. They won't do lobbying, negotiating. They just focus on lofi-dofi, rainbow and sunshine. No, this is so funny coming from affirmative. We expected more because you cannot just claim someone to calm down and settle down and they do not care about money. The silver lining why politics looks so dangerous and like a battleship is because since the very beginning, it existed. The goal is trying to get the most pragmatic solution. That is why politicians are firm and strengthening with what they believe and what they're trying to defend within their interests, right? Let's just move on to points of clashes. Two clashes, Clash A principality, Clash B practicality. Clash A then. What they serve in this debate? Three things. First, eligibility parameter is time and it is justified at the end of the day. Second, professionals understand the struggle, so therefore it is justified. Third, the democracy will happen because if professionals are able to voice out who they want as minister inside of the cabinet. Our reply also three. First of all, the eligibility parameter of time will be overweight in our side of the house because there's still more control and check and balance for the productivity of the ministers inside of our house rather than the long and expensive campaigns that is brought by government house, which by the end of the day, waste of money and understand that money is a very, very essential thing. We need to protect money because we're a developing country. We're Indonesia. We still need them for a lot of allocation. We still need them for a lot of development in other sector. So you cannot just waste money on trying to fulfill the campaigns of the individual's interest and the organization's interest, right? Second of all, professionals understand the struggles, but if there are no bureaucratic skills, guess what will happen? Only sympathy, only empathy, only emotions, and so on. My second speaker has said about the campaigns not being able to level up the skills of professionals becoming ministers and actually making them vulnerable itself to be overweight by unskilled ministers that are just good at election politics. And third of all, no. In effect, corruption inside of the current status quo of Indonesia, which is very rampant, it will definitely affect the voting process a lot, and there are no safeguards inside the government house. We comparatively softened the blow by lobbying and burning funding for campaigns for election, etc. My second speaker has already said this all over again. But let's weigh this thing then. Two things here. Let's play in the government best case. When ministers who have technical expertise in their specific fields, they make more, for example, more efficient decision in education and health and economy. But panels, please understand that we still risk the diminishing of the fundamental principle of a political representation, which is the expert in any given field, such as medical professional or economists. They do not know about other things like how society works, how political stances work, how technology works, and so on, that the citizen needs from various backgrounds. This leads to a system where political representation is limited to the sectors only and the sector interests, and it'll neglect the value and the needs of people as a whole country. And second of all, okay, about the empathy and sympathy, please do not put politics stances and skills as the same lining as the everyday struggle that people went through, right? From the very start, we told you that being a minister, meaning in order for you to fulfill the vision and mission of each goal, they need to have a lot of skills. So I've given you guys panels a very, very clear parameter and setup from the very beginning, but zero coming from affirmative. Clash B on the practicality then. Two things here. They talk about how political development are being biased towards a lot of political interests. There's a lot of nepotism and relations between those internal systems. There's a lot of economical capacity and so on. And second, they talk about how minister and the status quo are unqualified to the interests of their expertise, right? There will be 3 points here. First of all, about nepotism, since the very beginning, we told you that this will still happen under your side of the house, so you cannot make this as a point, the winning points towards the government side of the house, because they still haven't tackled their own case. Because when only a certain group of professionals who choose the minister, then in the longevity, you guys didn't give us any definition on how and in what limitation of power does the organization have within the status quo, and not to mention the one who's chosen will be the one who pleases the organization goals the most, because understand that they vote that the organization vote for this one person to actually step up as a minister, so it is the organization's goals and not the people of the country's goal. But second then, on the worst case scenario and why do we still win? And they still hasn't tackled this idea as well. My first speaker brings up about how unqualified minister, there's also public accountability and pressure for re-election. So therefore, even if the minister is unqualified, they'll still have the responsibility, they still have the basic knowledge, basic feelings of how they want to be in a re-election, so therefore they will try their best to actually be qualified, right? They will try their best to be seen by the people in the cabinet and people by the country, so therefore there's check and balance anyway, at least under our side of the house, because it's not like ministers can just do whatever they want, whatever they please, and act like nothing. There's also cabinet, there's president to making sure that he's competent. There's a lot of regulation that kick you out if you do something that is not within the morals and the ethical of the governance system, right? And third of all, our synergy will be strengthened. And this is a point that my second speaker has bring to you. Understand that correlation between ministers is very, very, very important, especially if we're coming from a democratic country. We're coming from a country where everything is one aligned with one another. So therefore, synergy is a very, very important thing, because we need to have the same vision with the executive head and the understanding priorities to make sure it happens in the status quo. But then what are the case? They only talk about, oh, there will be connection anyway under organization, because why? Because people, professionals communicate. What kind of answer is that? Because professionals only communicate in one field. They cannot communicate or even understand. A doctor cannot understand about marketing and economy and so on, right? Especially when productivity is a main check and balance and a main proxy for ministers and the cabinet itself. Therefore, we win under the check and balances of in their cases as well, right? So therefore, there's a lot of likelihood until the end of the debate that still stands on, and there's a lot of turbulences and complexity that still stands on under their case of the House until the end of the debate. Under all of those spectrum, please vote for -2 champion. Thank you very much.
We thank the third negative for that speech. That wraps up the substantive speakers of this round. To start the reply speakers, we call upon the negative reply to sum up next slide.
Okay, starting my reply speech in 3, 2, 1. Democracy is what we abide by. Our side wins, and here is why. Judges, the moment affirmative erases the link between the president, aka the representation of the whole nation, from choosing the minister, and instead letting a certain group of professionals who have their own interests and goals, by the way, they are creating a society where each sectors will be exclusive to themselves, only upgrading certain aspects and not seeing the general needs. And diverse democracy dies in this country. So not only do you erase the link between president and ministers, but you are erasing ministers with each other and ministers with people, and in the end, democracy itself. Now let's see within 2 points of clashes on why our side should win this debate. Firstly, on which side understands the status quo of Indonesian politics more? Proposition affirmative suggests that appointing ministers via professional sectors will create a more knowledgeable government, because they would be elected by the people who understand their specific sectors most. So this is how we answer it, right? Here's the problem with proposition's argument. They fail to understand the complexity of Indonesian politics. Indonesia is a diverse country with different interests, different voices, different sectors, which is why we need a diverse democracy so that we can allocate to all, right? It is not about picking a minister who is super duper good at their specific field. It is about balancing those diverse interests who are always competing against each other, because the ministers serve not only to the broader serve the broader public, not only to just certain professional groups. Affirmative lacks the understanding of broader context of this Indonesia politics system, right? They completely overlook the fact that ministers are supposed to govern and represent the whole country with their fields, not representing a certain group interest. We've shown you throughout the debate how it's only happening under our side. And even on the worst case scenario, if a minister is super bad under our side, it is still in the interest for the president to kick them out, and from them to get from the get-go, those ministers anyway will want the votes to stay in position of the ministry. So it will not likely to happen anyway, which is why their case in this clash falls and we win. And secondly, the clash on which side benefits every actors, like from the ministers themselves to the citizens more. Affirmation suggests how exactly because they want to focus on their field, which is why there is differentiation of ministry, and like so it's okay for them to focus on that field alone, and also how the ministers will only be pleasing the president under our side. Here's how we answer. 1. Electing ministers based on their professional backgrounds only harms the broader population and undermines the interest of other sectors. Like teachers want better pay for them, but what about the students and the scholarships? They will be biased and whatever. We have answered this before and until the end. Oh, and also to the end, they keep saying how these professionals will have moral obligation when actually, a group or like a person is not just influenced by their moral compass, but also their interests, especially professional interests or goals in their sector. And this is even more apparent when they are in like a group together. And B, while under their side they have like a moral obligation to the public, this doesn't erase the fact that in the end their primary obligation will be to that professional community who elected them, right? And this is how they also try to rebut our the fact that these ministries will then only be serving the president. But let's not forget that the ministers are still under a democratic system. There is still the parliament, there is still the public, all which they need to be in a good light in if they want to still be in position. This is why we want a more inclusive governance without undermining the diversity in democracy, and we recognize that policies that only benefit one sector in expense of others is not unity, which is why until the end I am proud to negate.
We thank the negative reply for its speech. To wrap this debate up as a whole and close the affirmative side of the House, we call upon the affirmative reply. Here.
Am I audible?
Yep, you're audible.
Okay. I will begin my reply in 3, 2, 1. In the end, the first people who are impacted by the policies that the ministers make are the people whose jobs relate to the field of these ministers. We think that they've been in the mud for ages because of poor policies made by the people, and the president doesn't because we believe that these workers have been in the mud for ages because of the poor policies made by these ministers, and the president doesn't even fire these ministers. Negative only plays on their best case, and they're only looking at the bigger picture without considering the welfare of the groups of these people are from. First of all, the third speaker brought a lot of great material that has never been brought by the LO or the DLO, so you cannot credit that. Panels, 3 metrics in which you should judge this debate. First of all, which side gives betterment for professional and people in the related field? Which side gives betterment for the government? And which side gives the better check and balance? Okay, what has the negative brought into this debate? First of all, they carry these assertions that they don't actually explain the impact or how the weighting or the analysis, especially the LO. Like they don't explain how to impact like people like teachers and doctors, etc. They keep bringing up how to affect like the others like students or patients, but they aren't even thinking of the people who will treat them or take care of them in the first place. The ministry don't know the technical works of how society, and they say like the ministry don't know like how the technical works or how society works. This is inexclusive in your side because they're even less likely to understand that constituent. Second of all, people now would blame the minister and the the government instead of blaming it on the people. On our side, people would now blame the minister or the organization who chose them instead of just the president. It will make people more aware of how the government works and make people more aware of how the government works and hinder the government from the zero-sum game framing in politics. What they want is what we want ministers to actually take the bigger accountability, and that can only happen when it's not the president choosing them. And then they reduce the scope to like Indonesian politics, where there wasn't any elaboration from the motion or from the lead opposition. From us as the arbiters, we only brought the choices of Indonesia as an example that is familiar to us as debaters and the panels. But okay, let's go with what they have brought. They continue framing how these people won't choose well because of the bad democracy of the country, when it's literally what's happening in the status quo. Because like the president firing one person over a mistake they did is just a one case in a million. What about the other ministers who have brought harm to the people? Like all the examples we have explained, like Curriculum Merdeka, the tax increase, etc. You want to uphold democracy, but also saying democracy is bad. So you've been completely inconsistent throughout this entire debate. Okay, what have we brought into this debate? We explained to you how the professionals are the ones who need these policies. We want to make sure that their welfare is going to be fulfilled better by having someone who's actually been in their shoes. And may I remind you that it doesn't mean exclusively that the person is from like the same job field as them. These are people who have built a portfolio in which the portfolio is makes them trusted as someone who can lead the people who can give the best for these professionals and the people in this job. Second of all, the government has been made of president bootlickers and huge coalitions that fulfill the president interests or even in their own for this entire time. We've shown you how when someone is from the group of people who will be directly impacted by the policies will be created will be more rational and actually hit the right target rather than just creating a policy that will make these ministers look like they're working when they don't even consider like how it will impact everyone on a wide scope. Okay, yes, a minister should work with the president, but when they are fully, yes, the minister should work with the president, but when they're fully in line with the president, they become yes men that don't actually look from a different lens. We do admit conflict would increase between the president and the minister, but at least we have people who know what the people in that job field needs. And we pointed out that these people are the strong men and the best of on our side. So we're not choosing a random someone with no public skills. Strong men or women also understand about politics, marketing, trade, etc. Even when you're working in education, because as the motion said, the portfolio is seen as we explained earlier. And these people aren't like, and these people like aren't exclusivity. Proud to propose.
We thank the affirmative reply for that speech, and that wraps up the Novice Finals of IVED 2025. Yay! Give yourself a round of applause, virtually shake hands and cross the floor. And we wish you all the best of luck for the announcement that will be given during the closing ceremony later on. Yay! So with that, I'm going to invite all of the judges to go into the breakout room when the ORCOM opens it. And we can deliberate there. For all Novice Finals, thank you for such a great debate. Hopefully you all are proud of your speeches. Hopefully all the effort will not betray the results. Thank you.